The alarm systems across Earth's orbital defense network screamed to life at exactly 0347 hours. Hyun Lee sat frozen at her monitoring station, her coffee cup halfway to her lips as the display before her painted a picture that should not exist. Thousands of energy signatures had just appeared at the edge of the solar system, beyond Neptune's frozen orbit. Her hands moved across the console with practiced speed, running the detection sequence 3 more times. Each scan confirmed what her mind refused to accept. 10,000 distinct signatures. All of them massive. All of them moving toward Earth with clear purpose and formation. "Get me Admiral Park," she said into her communicator, her voice surprisingly steady despite the ice forming in her stomach. Right now. Within minutes, the emergency channels lit up across the planet. Admiral Junho Park arrived at the command center, still buttoning his uniform jacket. His gray hair uncombed but his eyes sharp and focused. He studied the tactical display without speaking, his weathered face revealing nothing of his thoughts. "How long?" he asked. "At their current speed, 72 hours until they reach Mars orbit," Hyun replied. "But sir, the composition of that fleet, I have never seen anything like it. The largest vessels are outputting energy readings equivalent to our entire Pacific defense grid." Junho nodded slowly, his fingers drumming once against the edge of the command table. "Send the alert. Protocol 7. Wake everyone up." Around the world, leaders were pulled from sleep and rushed to secure bunkers. The Global Emergency Council assembled via encrypted channels, faces appearing on screens in the underground command center. President Martinez of the Americas spoke first, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. "Is this confirmed? This is not a malfunction or sensor ghost?" "Confirmed," Junho replied. "We have an alien fleet approaching Earth. Based on their formation and trajectory, their intentions are not peaceful." "How can you possibly know that?" someone demanded from the European representative's screen. "Because peaceful visitors do not travel in battle formations," Captain Minho Choi said, stepping into view beside the Admiral. His uniform was crisp, despite the early hour, his jaw set with determination. "I have analyzed their approach vector. This is a conquest fleet. They are not hiding. They are not attempting communication. They want us to see them coming and be afraid." The council chamber erupted in overlapping voices, some calling for immediate surrender, others demanding military options that did not exist. Junho let them talk, his expression never changing. He had prepared for this moment for 30 years. He had hoped it would never come, but he had prepared nonetheless. "Silence," he said finally, not raising his voice but cutting through the chaos like a blade. "We are not surrendering." "Admiral, be realistic," the Asian Coalition representative said, leaning forward on his screen. "What you are describing is an armada that could destroy every city on Earth. We have orbital platforms and defensive satellites, yes, but against 10,000 warships? You are thinking with old information," Junho replied calmly. "What I am about to tell you is classified at the highest level. 200 years ago, when humanity first detected signals that suggested we were not alone, a decision was made. While we showed the galaxy radio waves and peaceful orbital stations, we were building something else. In secret." He gestured. And the tactical display shifted. New markers appeared throughout the solar system, scattered from Mercury to the Kuiper Belt. Thousands of them, hidden facilities, and weapon platforms that had never appeared on any public record. "Project Aegis," Dr. Yuna Kim said, stepping into the light. She was younger than most in the room expected, barely 40, with sharp eyes behind thin glasses. "For 2 centuries, Earth's brightest minds have been developing defensive technology in isolation. No alien contact meant no stolen technology. No limitations based on existing galactic standards. We built from scratch, following paths that apparently no one else considered." She activated a holoscreen, showing schematics that looked more like abstract art than weapons systems. Quantum displacement fields, gravitational lances, singularity torpedoes, railgun networks operating at relativistic speeds. "And that is just the conventional arsenal. You are talking about theoretical physics," someone protested. weapons that exist only in simulations. I am talking about functional hardware that has been tested and deployed, Yuna corrected, her voice sharp. Why do you think our lunar mining operations were classified for 80 years? The council members stared at the display, seeing their solar system as it truly existed for the first time. Not a peaceful collection of research stations and colonies, but a fortress, armed to a degree that made conventional planetary defense look like children with wooden swords. Incoming transmission, Hayun announced suddenly. From the fleet. They are broadcasting on multiple frequencies. The main screen shifted, revealing a face that was almost human, but wrong in subtle ways. The being's skin was deep purple, its eyes solid black without visible pupils. Its facial structure just slightly too angular. It wore ornate armor, decorated with symbols that spoke of rank and conquest. Primitive inhabitants of the third planet, the alien said, its voice translated by linguistic AI into flat, emotionless speech. I am High Admiral Korvax of the Valorian Imperial Navy. Your world has been designated for incorporation into the Eternal Empire. You have 24 of your hours to transmit your unconditional surrender. Failure to comply will result in the complete sterilization of your planet. We have conquered 47 star systems. Your resistance would be meaningless. Choose wisely. Quote. The transmission ended, leaving silence in the command center. Junho looked around at the faces on the screens, then at his officers standing beside him. Minho stood with his arms crossed, ready for orders. Yuna watched the data streams flowing across her tablet, calculating outcomes. Hayun monitored the alien fleet, tracking their every movement. Send a response, Junho said quietly. Tell them we need the full 24 hours to consider. Buy us time. And then? President Martinez asked. Junho smiled, and there was no warmth in it. Then we show these conquerors why humanity stands alone among the stars. Not because we are weak, but because we chose to be ready. High Admiral Korvax stood on the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, his flagship that had led the destruction of dozens of worlds. Around him, holographic displays showed the primitive planet growing larger as his fleet advanced. He felt the familiar satisfaction of another easy victory approaching. Status report, he commanded, his voice carrying the authority of 300 successful campaigns. The humans have responded, Admiral, his communications officer reported. They request the full duration to consider their options. Korvax laughed, a harsh sound that echoed across the bridge. Of course they do. They always ask for more time when they realize the futility of resistance. What do our sensors show? The tactical officer brought up a display of Earth and its surrounding space. Minimal defense capabilities, Admiral. We detect approximately 200 orbital platforms, scattered satellites, and basic colonies on their moon and the fourth planet. No capital ships. No shield generators protecting the planet itself. Their technology appears to be at least 4 centuries behind our standard. And their response to our arrival? Panic across all communication channels. Their governments are arguing among themselves. Some want to surrender immediately. Others talk of resistance, but they have nothing to resist with. The officer paused, frowning at his console. There is one anomaly. Admiral, speak. We are detecting unusual quantum signatures from several locations. The human moon, the fourth planet they call Mars, and scattered points throughout their system. Our science team cannot identify the source. Korvax waved a dismissive hand. Probably primitive mining equipment or reactor leakage. These backward species always generate strange readings because they have not learned to properly shield their technology. Focus on the planet itself. What are their population centers? The display zoomed in, showing Earth's cities glowing like jewels against the dark continents. 7 major population zones, Admiral. Total population estimated at 12 billion. No planetary shields. No evacuation ships. They are trapped on their world. No. Perfect. Korvax studied the tactical display with satisfaction. We will proceed with the standard hammer formation. Maximum intimidation. overwhelming force. When they see our full might bearing down on their helpless planet, they will beg to serve the Empire. Far from the Valorian fleet, invisible to their sensors, Jaewon Shin watched from the cockpit of his stealth reconnaissance ship. Around him in the darkness, 40 more shadow vessels drifted silent and unseen, gathering data on every aspect of the alien armada. Their shield frequency is stable at 7.3 terahertz, he reported over the encrypted channel. Particle-based deflection system. Strong against energy weapons and kinetic impacts, but completely rigid. No quantum phase variance. Confirmed, Su Minhong replied from the Tactical Analysis Center on Earth's moon. She sat surrounded by holographic displays, her fingers dancing through data streams as fast as the computers could provide them. I am seeing the pattern now. Their technology is impressive by conventional standards, but it is old, conservative. They have been using the same basic principles for so long that they cannot imagine anything different. She pulled up a comparison chart. Human weapons specifications alongside the Valorian readings. Their shields will not even register our quantum phase weapons until it is too late. To them, our shots will simply not exist until they are already through the shields. What about their weapons? Jaewon asked, banking his ship slightly to avoid a piece of space debris. Can we handle their firepower? Their plasma cannons operate on predictable trajectories. Their missiles use conventional propulsion. Their energy beams travel at light speed. Sumin smiled grimly. We have been fighting simulations of faster, smarter weapons for 100 years. This fleet is dangerous to anyone using galactic standard technology. Against us, they are shooting arrows at tanks. Back on the Eternal Conquest, Korvax's science officer approached hesitantly. Admiral, I must report growing concern about the quantum anomalies. The readings are increasing in intensity. I believe we should investigate before proceeding. Your concern is noted and dismissed, Korvax replied coldly. In 3 hours, the human deadline expires. We will advance, regardless of their answer, and demonstrate the cost of defiance. The Emperor has ordered this world brought into the Empire, and I will not delay because of censor ghosts. But Admiral, enough. Korvax turned his back on the science officer, studying the beautiful blue planet ahead. Prepare the fleet for combat formation. All ships to attack readiness. Charge the main batteries. Throughout the massive fleet, 10,000 warships began their final preparations. Gun ports opened. Shield generators hummed to full power. Crews took their battle stations with the confidence of an empire that had never known defeat. They did not notice the quantum signatures multiplying throughout the system. They did not see the hidden platforms powering up on asteroids and moons. They did not detect the gravitational distortions as massive weapon systems initialized their firing sequences. In Earth's Defense Command Center, Admiral Junho watched the countdown clock tick toward 0. Around him, every screen showed ready status. Green lights across the board. 200 years of preparation coming to a single moment. Admiral, Minho said quietly. All ships report ready. All platforms are online. All weapon systems are charged and targeted. We are waiting on your order. Junho looked at the image of the Valorian fleet, that massive hammer of ships arranged to inspire terror in primitive species who had never seen true military power. He thought about the 47 civilizations they had crushed, the billions who had died or been enslaved, the arrogance of an empire that believed conquest was their birthright. Dr. Kim, he said. Final status of Project Aegis? Yuna looked up from her console, her expression calm despite the magnitude of what was about to happen. All quantum displacement mines are positioned and armed. Gravitational lances are locked on primary targets. Railgun platforms are tracking assigned vessels. Singularity torpedoes are loaded and ready. Every system is operating at peak efficiency. And our fleet, hidden in the shadow of Earth's moon, exactly as planned, Minho reported. The aliens still have no idea we possess actual warships. They think those orbital platforms are our only defense. Junho nodded slowly. The clock showed 1 minute remaining. He opened a channel that would broadcast across Earth, and throughout the solar system, to every human who had waited in fear for this moment. "Citizens of Earth," he said, his voice steady and strong. "For 200 years, we have prepared for this day. We have built in secret. We have innovated in isolation. We have made ourselves ready for the moment when someone would come to take our freedom. That moment is now. And we will show them why humanity does not bow, why we do not surrender, why we stand alone among the stars not as victims, but as guardians of our own destiny." The countdown reached 0. "Release Protocol Omega," Junho commanded. "Show them who we are." The Valorian fleet crossed into the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, their formation perfect and intimidating. High Admiral Korvax stood on his bridge, confident in his overwhelming superiority. His fleet had crushed every defense they had ever encountered. This primitive world would be no different. "All ships report ready, Admiral," his tactical officer announced. "We are in optimal attack range. Shall we begin the bombardment?" Korvax opened his mouth to give the order that would end another civilization's resistance. He never got the words out. The first second changed everything. Throughout the Valorian formation, space itself seemed to tear open. Quantum displacement mines that had been invisible to their sensors activated simultaneously. Reality folded in ways that violated every principle of known physics. 300 Valorian destroyers simply ceased to exist in their current locations and reappeared somewhere else. Some materialized inside asteroids, the rock and metal fusing with their hulls in catastrophic explosions. Others found themselves occupying the same space as their sister ships, the collision of matter and antimatter drives creating brief new suns. Still others were displaced into the path of the main fleet, causing cascading collisions as ships traveling at tremendous speeds could not avoid the sudden obstacles. In 1 second, the Valorian fleet lost 600 ships to an attack they never saw coming. The second and third seconds belonged to physics and mathematics. Across Mars, Ceres, and Earth's moon, railgun platforms that had been disguised as mining equipment revealed their true nature. Tungsten projectiles, each weighing several tons and accelerated to 30% of light speed, began their precisely calculated journeys. The platforms had been targeting and tracking every major Valorian ship for hours, their AI systems calculating trajectories that accounted for fleet movement, gravitational influences, and evasive maneuvers that had not yet been made. The projectiles crossed the distance in heartbeats, moving too fast for conventional sensors to track. The Valorian shields were designed to deflect energy weapons and absorb plasma charges. They had never been tested against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. They failed instantly. The kinetic energy of each impact was beyond comprehension. Dreadnoughts that had survived planetary bombardments were torn in half. Battle cruisers designed to withstand nuclear strikes simply disintegrated. The shields might as well have been paper. 2,000 more ships died in those 2 seconds, ripped apart by weapons that were brutally simple but devastatingly effective. The 4th and 5th seconds introduced the Valorian fleet to humanity's mastery of gravity itself. Deep within the larger asteroids, gravitational lance generators activated their firing sequences. These were weapons that Dr. Yuna's team had spent 80 years perfecting. Devices that could focus and project the fundamental force that held planets together and kept stars burning. Invisible beams of concentrated gravitational energy lanced across space, striking the largest Valorian capital ships. The effect was immediate and horrible. Metal hulls designed to withstand the vacuum of space and the heat of atmospheric entry crumpled like crushed cans. The gravitational force was so intense that it overcame the structural integrity of even military-grade alloys. Ships thousands of meters long collapsed inward, their own mass becoming their executioner, as localized gravity wells compressed them to a fraction of their original size. 300 of the Valorian fleet's largest and most powerful vessels were reduced to dense balls of twisted metal and dying crew members. The survivors in the fleet watched in horror as their flagships simply ceased to be recognizable as ships at all. The 6th second belonged to the fighters. Nari Kwan led her squadron out from behind the dark side of Earth's moon, her hands steady on the controls despite her racing heart. Behind her, 500 of humanity's best pilots emerged from hiding, their fighters sleek and fast and carrying weapons that should not exist. "All wings, this is Strike Leader," she transmitted. "Engage at will. Show them what we can do." The human fighters were small, almost insignificant compared to the massive alien warships, but each one carried micro-singularity torpedoes, weapons that Dr. Yuna's team had considered too dangerous to test at full power until this moment. Each torpedo contained a carefully controlled quantum field that, upon detonation, would create a temporary black hole lasting exactly 0.3 seconds. That was all they needed. Nari locked onto a Valorian battleship that was desperately trying to reorganize its defense screens. Her targeting computer confirmed lock. She fired. The torpedo streaked across the void, too small and too fast for the alien point defense systems to track. It struck the battleship amidships. For 0.3 of a second, a microscopic black hole existed in normal space. Its event horizon was only a few meters across, but within that tiny sphere, gravity became absolute. The battleship's center section was pulled into the singularity, matter compressed beyond any normal physical state. When the field collapsed, the ship broke in half, severed as cleanly as if cut by a laser. Across the battlefield, 500 more singularity torpedoes found their marks. 500 more Valorian ships died to weapons that bent the laws of physics in ways their builders had never imagined possible. The seventh second brought revelation and despair to the Valorian fleet. Space itself seemed to shimmer and fold. What had appeared to be empty void behind Earth's moon suddenly revealed something that had been hidden by quantum stealth fields that made the ships completely invisible to conventional sensors. Earth's actual navy decloaked. 200 human warships materialized, their designs unlike anything in galactic records. They were smaller than Valorian capital ships but sleek and deadly, their hulls covered in adaptive armor that shifted and changed to deflect incoming fire. Their weapons were a fusion of every technology humanity had developed in isolation: plasma cannons enhanced with quantum targeting, missile systems guided by predictive AI, energy weapons that operated on frequencies the Valorian shields could not block. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the EDS Sovereign, humanity's flagship, and watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. "All ships, execute attack pattern Sierra. Target the command vessels. Let us end this." The human fleet opened fire. The Valorian ships, already reeling from 6 seconds of impossible attacks, found themselves facing an enemy they had not known existed. Their return fire was desperate and uncoordinated. Their formations were shattered. Their communications were jammed by electronic warfare systems that operated on principles their technology could not counter. High Admiral Korvax stood on the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, his expression no longer confident and superior. Around him, displays showed only death and destruction. 73% of his fleet was gone. Simply gone. The greatest armada the Valorian Empire had ever assembled had been annihilated in 7 seconds. "Retreat!" he screamed, all dignity and authority abandoned. "All ships, retreat! Emergency! Jump! Anywhere! Just get us away from here." But even retreat was not simple. The quantum disruption fields that humanity had scattered throughout the region made faster than light travel impossible. The Valorian ships were trapped, forced to fight or surrender. Across the solar system, on Earth and Mars and the Moon, billions of humans watched the displays in stunned silence. They had feared annihilation. They had prepared for desperate resistance. Instead, they witnessed something they had never dared to imagine: complete and total victory. Admiral Junho watched the broken remains of the Valorian fleet, attempting to regroup, and knew that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and everyone would soon know exactly what that meant. The bridge of the Eternal Conquest was chaos. Alarms screamed from every console. Crew members shouted overlapping reports of damage and casualties. High Admiral Korvax gripped the command rail with both hands, his knuckles white, watching his fleet around him. "Sir, the quantum disruption is preventing jump drives from activating," his navigation officer reported, voice cracking with barely suppressed panic. "We cannot escape to faster than light speeds. We are trapped in normal space." "Then move!" Korvax roared. "Maximum conventional thrust. Get us out of this system." Also, maximum conventional thrust, but even conventional engines were failing. 3 of the flagship's 6 main drives had been damaged by near misses from those impossible human weapons. The ship shuddered as explosions rippled through lower decks. Around them, the surviving Valorian vessels tried to form a defensive perimeter, but there was no defense against enemies who had already proven they could strike from anywhere with weapons that should not exist. "Incoming transmission," communications called out. "From the human fleet. They are demanding our surrender." Korvax wanted to refuse. Every instinct screamed at him to fight until his last ship was dust. But he looked at the tactical display and saw the truth written in cold numbers. 2,700 ships remained from his fleet of 10,000. Most were damaged. All were demoralized. And the human forces were completely intact, circling like predators who had not yet decided whether to finish their prey. "Open the channel," he said. The words, tasting like poison. The screen cleared to show a human face. The being looked old by their species' standards, with gray hair and lines around his eyes. But those eyes were sharp and hard and entirely without mercy. "I am Admiral Junho Park of Earth Defense Command," the human said. "You have 3 minutes to power down your weapons and engines. Any ship that does not comply will be destroyed. Any ship that attempts to flee will be destroyed. Any ship that fires will result in the destruction of your entire fleet. You have already lost. Do not make us demonstrate it again." The transmission ended. Korvax looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. He saw fear there, and shock, and the beginning of understanding that everything they believed about Valorian superiority had been a lie. "Power down," he whispered. Then, louder. "Power down all systems. Signal the fleet to stand down." Within the hour, human Marines boarded the Eternal Conquest. They moved with practiced efficiency, their armor more advanced than anything Korvax had seen, their weapons trained on every potential threat. They took him and his senior officers into custody without violence, but with absolute authority. Korvax found himself in a detention cell that was clean and well lit, but unmistakably a prison. Time passed. He did not know how long. Eventually, the door opened and 2 humans entered. One was the admiral from the transmission. The other was a younger woman carrying a data tablet. "I am Ambassador Unjibe," the woman said, her voice calm and professional. "I will be translating and facilitating this conversation. Admiral Park has questions for you." "I have nothing to say," Korvax replied, forcing defiance into his voice that he did not feel. "Then you will listen," Junho said, simply. He sat down across from the Valorian admiral, his posture relaxed, but his gaze intense. "Tell me about the Valorian Empire. How many worlds? How many species? How large is your military?" "Why would I tell you anything?" "Because you are intelligent enough to understand your situation," Junho replied. "Your fleet is captured or destroyed. Your emperor does not know what happened here, and I am trying to decide whether to let any of you go home." Korvax felt ice in his veins. "You would murder prisoners?" "No," Junho said. "But I will make strategic decisions about what information leaves this solar system. If no one knows what happened here, other fleets will come. More death, more destruction. I would prefer to avoid that." The interrogation lasted hours. Korvax told them everything, partly because resistance seemed futile, and partly because some part of him needed them to understand the magnitude of what they had done. The Valorian Empire spanned 300 star systems. It controlled hundreds of billions of subjects across dozens of species. Its military, numbered in the millions of ships. It had been expanding for 2,000 years, and no one had ever stopped it. And now you have. Korvax finished bitterly. You have defeated the greatest armada we have ever assembled. You have done it in 7 seconds with weapons we cannot comprehend. What are you? Korvax. Korvax. What kind of species develops such power and remains hidden? The careful kind, Junho replied. The kind that remembers being primitive and vulnerable. The kind that prepares for the worst while hoping for the best. Later, in Earth's War Council chamber, the debate raged with intensity that matched the recent battle. We should destroy them all, General Hyunwoo Kang insisted, his fist striking the table for emphasis. They came to enslave or kill us. They have done it to 47 other civilizations. Why should we show them any mercy? Because we are not them, Ambassador Unji countered. If we slaughter prisoners and send no message, we are no better than the empire they serve. Worse, we will have gained nothing. Other fleets will come, and we will have to fight this battle again and again. Then what do you propose? Hyunwoo demanded. We send a message, Junho said quietly, and the room fell silent. Not a message of mercy or weakness, a message of strength and warning. We let one ship go. We send them with complete data on our capabilities. We show them exactly what happened here and make it clear that this was not luck or desperation. This was restraint. Restraint? Someone echoed incredulously. Dr. Yuna stepped forward, her tablet showing the technical analysis. Admiral Junho is correct. Our analysis shows that Valorian technology is approximately 400 years behind ours in key areas. They are not stupid or weak. By galactic standards, they are actually quite advanced. But we developed in isolation, following paths that no one else considered. We have weapons they cannot defend against, and defenses they cannot penetrate. She paused, letting that sink in. If we wanted to, we could take the fight to them. We could burn their empire to ash. And they need to know that we could do this, but we choose not to. Why would we choose restraint? Hyunwoo asked, though his tone had shifted from anger to genuine curiosity. Because empires built on fear eventually fall, Unji said. But empires built on respect can last. We do not want to conquer the galaxy. We want to be left alone. The best way to ensure that is to demonstrate overwhelming power and then choose not to use it. Make them more afraid of what we might do than what we have done. The vote was close, but the decision was made. One Valorian ship would be allowed to return home. But first, they would deliver a message. Captain Minho stood in the recording studio, his uniform perfect, his expression carefully neutral. Behind him, holographic displays showed the battle, played back in brutal detail. Every weapon, every technology, every moment of the 7-second annihilation. Emperor Thalen Vor of the Valorian Empire, he began, speaking clearly into the camera. Your fleet came to Earth, expecting to find a primitive civilization. You found humanity. We have existed alone in our corner of space for thousands of years. Not because we lacked the ability to expand, but because we chose to develop ourselves first. We watched the galaxy. We learned. We prepared. The hologram showed quantum mines tearing ships apart, railguns punching through shields, gravitational lances crushing dreadnoughts. You see here what we can do. This was not our full capability. This was a defensive response using a fraction of our arsenal. We could have destroyed your entire fleet. We could have pursued your survivors to your homeworld. We choose not to. Minho leaned forward slightly, his eyes hard. Earth claims no territory beyond our solar system. We seek no conflict with your empire or any other civilization. But understand this clearly. We will not be conquered. We will not be threatened. We will not bow. The hologram shifted to show Earth itself. beautiful and blue, and protected by weapons that could burn worlds. Come in peace, and we will respond with peace. Come with threats, and we will remove you from existence. This is not arrogance. This is not a bluff. This is a promise from a species that has had 10,000 years to prepare for this moment. We are humanity, and we stand alone by choice, not by weakness. The recording ended. 3 days later, a single Valorian ship limped out of the solar system, carrying survivors and the recording that would change the galaxy forever. Behind them, Earth stood vigilant and ready, no longer hidden, no longer unknown. The age of human isolation had ended. The age of human strength had begun. 6 months after the battle, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The Valorian ship carrying survivors and humanity's message had limped into Imperial space after weeks of conventional speed travel. The crew was traumatized, their stories barely believable. But the recording was undeniable. Within days, it had spread across every world in the Empire. Within weeks, it had reached civilizations far beyond Valorian borders. Everywhere, the response was the same: shock, disbelief, and then fear. Fear of the humans who had appeared from nowhere, with weapons that made galactic standard technology look like primitive tools. Fear of what it meant that such a powerful species had been hiding in plain sight for millennia. On the Valorian throne world, Emperor Thalan Vor watched the recording for the 100th time. His council chamber was filled with advisors arguing over what should be done. Some called for immediate retaliation with every ship the Empire possessed. Others urged diplomacy. Still others suggested simply leaving this mysterious Earth alone and expanding in different directions. Silence, Thalan Vor commanded, his voice tired. He was old, having ruled for 60 years. And he had seen much, but nothing had prepared him for this. How many rebellions? His intelligence minister stepped forward, his expression grim. 17 of our subject worlds have openly declared independence. Another 32 are showing signs of unrest. They saw what happened to our fleet. They believe, if we can be defeated, they can be free. 18. With we can be defeated, they can be free. They can be defeated. And our military response? Stretched thin. We have ships at every trouble spot. But morale is poor. Our crews are afraid. They joined the Navy believing in Valorian invincibility. That belief is dead now. Thalan Vor nodded slowly. He had built his empire on the certainty of military superiority. That certainty no longer existed. Prepare a diplomatic vessel. I will send an envoy to Earth. My lord, you cannot be serious, one advisor protested. We do not negotiate with primitives. They are clearly not primitive, Thalan Vor replied coldly. They are something we have never encountered before, and I would rather negotiate than send more of our people to die. On Earth, in the newly constructed Global Defense Headquarters, Admiral Junho received the news of the Valorian diplomatic request with mixed feelings. He sat in his office, looking out at the city below, thinking about the path they had started down. What do you think? He asked Dr. Yuna, who stood by the window. Is this genuine? Or another trick? My analysis suggests genuine, she replied. The Empire is fracturing. Subject worlds are rebelling. The Valorian military is demoralized. Emperor Thalan Vor is a pragmatist. He wants to survive, and he has realized that attacking us again would be suicide. And if we refuse to meet with them, then other species see us as unreasonable, as dangerous, as something to be feared and potentially destroyed before we can destroy them. Yuna turned from the window. We wanted to be left alone, but now everyone knows we exist. We cannot hide again. The only question is what kind of galactic presence we will have. The first galactic assembly took place 3 months later, on a neutral space station that had once been a Valorian military outpost. Representatives from 40 different civilizations attended, including species that had been Valorian subjects until recently. The atmosphere was tense, suspicious, and electric, with possibility. Admiral Junho arrived with a small delegation. Ambassador Unji walked beside him, having spent months learning as much as possible about galactic politics and culture. Behind them came Captain Minho and a security detail that carried weapons none of the other species recognized. The assembly hall fell silent as the humans entered. Every eye tracked them, some with fear, others with hope, still others with calculation and greed. Humans of Earth, the assembly moderator began. A being from a species called the Kilar, who had remained neutral in most galactic conflicts. You have requested to address this body. You may speak. Junho stepped to the central platform, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. 6 months ago, my world was attacked by the Valorian Empire. They came, expecting easy conquest. They found resistance. What happened next has been seen across the galaxy. I will not apologize for defending my home, but I will explain what humanity wants, moving forward. He gestured, and a holographic display activated, showing Earth and its solar system. We claim this space, and only this space. We have no desire to expand beyond our system. We have no interest in conquest or empire building. We want to be left in peace. And if we do not leave you in peace? Someone called from the assembly. It was a Valorian military officer, his tone aggressive. What then? You threaten the entire galaxy with your weapons? No. Junho replied calmly. We threaten no one. But we promise this. Anyone who attacks human space will face the same fate as the Third Valorian Armada. We do not seek to hurt anyone. But we will not be victims. Another representative stood. This one from a species called the Heltar, who had been conquered by the Valorians a century ago. What about those of us who need protection? My world has gained freedom because the Empire is weakened. But we have no military. When they recover, they will come for us again. Will Earth help us? Junho was quiet for a long moment, feeling the weight of the question. This was the moment he had known would come. The moment when humanity would have to decide what kind of power they would be. Dr. Kim, he said, gesturing for Yuna to join him at the platform. Explain what we are offering. Yuna activated her tablet, and new displays appeared. For 200 years, humanity developed defensive technology in isolation. Some of this technology could be adapted for peaceful use or for defense of other worlds. We are willing to share some of our knowledge, but with conditions. The assembly erupted in excited murmuring. The promise of human technology was like offering water to people dying of thirst. What conditions? The Heltar representative asked. First, the technology will only be used for defense, never for aggression, Yuna said firmly. Second, we will train specialists from your worlds in how to use and maintain these systems. Third, any world that receives our technology agrees to a mutual defense pact. If you are attacked, we will respond. But if you attack others, we will withdraw our support and consider you a threat. You are building an alliance, Emperor Thalanvor said, standing from his seat. He had attended personally, a sign of how seriously he took this moment. An alliance against my empire. We are offering protection to those who need it, Junho replied. If your empire chooses to continue its policy of conquest, then yes, you will find organized resistance. But if you choose a different path, there is room for the Valorian Empire in a more peaceful galaxy. Thalanvor studied the human for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. I propose a non-aggression pact between Earth and Valoria. We will not attack your space. You will not attack ours. We will respect each other's sovereignty. Agreed, Junho said. But we require that you also agree to release any subject world that wishes independence. No more forced conquests. No more enslaved populations. The Emperor's advisors gasped in shock. This was asking the Valorian Empire to dismantle itself. But Thalanvor looked around at the assembly, at the dozens of species watching with hope and determination, and realized that his empire had already changed. The only question was whether he would adapt or be destroyed. Agreed, he said quietly. 3 months later, Commander Suji Han stood on the bridge of the EDS Explorer, humanity's first deep space vessel designed for long-range exploration rather than combat. Behind her ship, 4 more explorers prepared to launch on different vectors, each heading toward unexplored regions of the galaxy. All systems green, her navigator reported. Jump drive is charged. We are ready when you are, Commander. Suji looked at the image of Earth on her screen. The beautiful blue world that had hidden itself for so long and now stood as a beacon of strength in a dangerous galaxy. She thought about the responsibility they carried, the hope that other species placed in humanity's hands. Take us out, she commanded. Let us see what else is waiting out there. The explorer's jump drive activated, and the ship vanished into faster-than-light travel, heading toward mysteries unknown. Back on Earth, Admiral Junho stood in the same command center where he had ordered the destruction of the Valorian fleet. But the displays had changed. Instead of tracking threats, they now showed alliance communications, diplomatic channels, trade routes, and exploration vectors. Ambassador Unji entered, carrying a tablet. The latest report from the Heltar system. The defensive platforms we installed are working perfectly. They have detected 2 pirate groups attempting raids and drove them off without casualties. Good, Junho said. And the Valorian border? Quiet. Thalen Vor is keeping his word. He is even beginning reforms in how his empire treats subject species. It will take time. But change is happening. Junho nodded, allowing himself a small smile. We did not ask for this, did we? We just wanted to be left alone, but we are not alone anymore. Unji replied. The galaxy knows we exist, and whether we like it or not, we have become something we never intended to be. What is that? Guardians, leaders, a voice for those who have no strength to protect themselves. She paused. Is that so terrible? Junho looked at the stars displayed on the screen, thinking about the thousands of civilizations out there. Some peaceful, some predatory, all watching Earth with various mixtures of fear, respect, and hope. No, he said finally. It is not terrible. It is responsibility. And perhaps that is what we were preparing for all along, even if we did not realize it. Far out in the void between stars, sensors detected something new. A signal from beyond explored space, coming from the direction of the galactic core. It was powerful, organized, and entirely unknown. Whatever sent it was aware of the recent changes in galactic politics, and it was coming. But that was a problem for another day. For now, humanity stood ready, no longer hidden, no longer alone, and completely prepared to face whatever came next, because they had proven one fundamental truth to the galaxy and to themselves. When humanity stands together, nothing in the universe can break them.